I'm the storyteller, and my stories must be told. I have many stories, tales for both the young and old. I have many voices to describe many places. Many names have I, and many faces. In Russia I am Ivan, in Sweden I am Jan. In Germany I'm Johann, in America I'm John. From my many travels I have gathered these tales to teach you good sense when all else fails. Sometimes there are tears, sometimes there is laughter, but always are happily ever after.
Long ago and far away among green pastures and woodlands, there once stood an old stone cottage. Here lived a poor widow and her son, Peter. Now Peter was a kind, good-natured fellow, but sadly he was also very simple. For however hard he tried to do things right, they always went wrong. This made Peter very unhappy. He did so want to be clever and not clumsy, so that his mother could be proud of him. His mother loved Peter very dearly. She was always kind and patient with him. Whatever he did. Even when he put his shoes on the wrong feet. Time went by and Peter grew no smarter. He still did everything the wrong way round, however many times his mother showed him. His mother began to worry about who would look after him when she was gone. For she knew she was sick and getting very old now. So one spring morning, the widow decided to take Peter to see the old woman who lived in the wood far beyond the river. Many people came to the old woman for advice. Some said she was wise, others said she was a witch, but everyone was very frightened of her. It was the widow's great hope that the old woman would make Peter clever, so that at last he would be able to look after himself. The old woman had lived here for many, many years with only a bird and a cat for company. On and on walked Peter and his mother. Until they came, at last, to the old woman's cottage. So Peter took a deep breath and slowly walked towards the door. Inside the cottage, it was dark and gloomy. Then through the gloom, he saw the old woman. She was sitting by the fire. She did not turn round. Peter politely took off his hat. He was too shy to speak. "Who's there?" "Me," gulped Peter. "Who's me?" "Please, will you make me clever?" "So you want to be clever, do you?" "Well, first answer me a question." She was silent for a moment. "Shh! Tell me, what is it that runs without legs?" Peter tried very hard to think. "Hurry up! It's perfectly simple." "Runs without feet, runs without feet," thought Peter desperately. Oh, what could it be? Peter thought and thought and thought. He thought until his head ached, but still no answer came. "Dear me, you really are stupid." "I'm sorry," said Peter miserably. "I am trying." But it was no good, for however hard he thought, Peter still did not know the answer. The old woman was silent. Peter so wished his mother was there. She would know what to do. At last, Peter could bear it no longer. "I'm sorry, I don't know the answer," he said. And with that, he fled. He ran and ran. He had never been so frightened in his life. All he wanted to do was to get as far away as possible from the old woman, her screeching bird, her hissing cat, and her gloomy cottage. Now he felt much safer, for he was close to home. And there it was, home at last. Then Peter stopped. Something was the matter. He could see some of his neighbours gathered around the front door, crying. Peter ran as fast as he could. Something must have happened to his mother. His mother had indeed been taken ill and was close to dying. Now he was all alone. How would he manage? For the old woman hadn't made him clever at all. Then he knew he must return to the old woman's cottage and make his mother's wish come true. So the next morning he set off, heavy-hearted, for the old woman's cottage. The closer Peter got, the more fearful he became, for he still had no answer to the old woman's question. On and on he walked through the woods. But when he came to the fork in the path, he couldn't remember if he should go right or left. Oh dear, he thought, I'm lost. Finally, after many wrong turns, Peter came to the cottage. As he walked down the path towards the door, he felt very frightened. But he knew there was no turning back. So you've come back? Yes, said Peter, fearfully. But I still can't answer your question. The old woman was silent for a moment. Then I shall give you another chance, snapped the old woman. Tell me, what is yellow and shines and is not gold? Quick now! Peter thought very hard. Yellow shines is not gold. What could it be? May I think on it a while? Peter asked timidly. No! Be off with you! Snapped the old woman. And don't come back until you know the answers! So Peter left. He was very upset, for now he would never be clever. Peter did not run home this time. Instead, he walked forlornly along the path, for now there was no one for him to go home to. There would be no fire in the hearth, no soup on the table, and no welcoming smile on the door. Poor Peter felt so sad and lonely. He did not wish to return to the cold, empty cottage, so instead he stopped on the bridge. As he gazed into the water, he thought about the old woman's questions. I can't answer them, he thought, until I'm clever. But the old woman won't make me clever until I do. Oh, what was he going to do? Now he would be stupid forever. He was still wondering what to do when he felt something touch his arm. He turned, and there was the prettiest girl he had ever seen, and she was smiling at him. Peter just stared at her. Was he dreaming? The girl smiled and gently took his hand. But Peter wasn't dreaming. The young girl's name was Jenny, and she lived in a village not 5 miles off. She asked Peter why he was so sad. So Peter told her about his mother and how stupid he was. They spent their days together, walking happily in the woods. Peter told Jenny about his life. He told her about his dear mother, how she had sent him to the old woman to make him clever. how he couldn't answer her questions, how he wanted to be clever, but he was afraid to return there alone. Jenny smiled and told him that she liked him just the way he was. But if he did still want to be clever, then she would happily go with him to the old woman's cottage. This made Peter very happy. How lucky he was to have found someone as kind as Jenny. "Oh, I'm so glad we met," smiled Peter, feeling much happier now. Then Jenny said, "Listen, I've just had a wonderful idea." "What?" asked Peter. "Will you marry me?" "Yes! Oh, yes!" he cried from the river, and Jenny had to laugh. The wedding day came. All the villagers came to the service. They were rather surprised that someone as bright as Jenny wanted to marry Peter, but they wished them well. Peter was very nervous, but Jenny knew exactly what to do. Peter and Jenny lived on very happily together. Jenny was the perfect wife for Peter, and Peter would do anything in the world for Jenny. But Peter could not forget about the old woman, for he still wanted to be clever, so that Jenny might be proud of him. And though he said nothing to Jenny, she knew exactly what he was thinking. One day, Jenny suggested to Peter that they visit the old woman. Peter agreed, very pleased. And as they walked through the wood towards the old woman's cottage, Peter felt quite brave and strong, with Jenny there beside him. Jenny laughed and talked as they walked along, and Peter had no time to feel fearful. When they arrived at the old woman's cottage, Peter suddenly felt very nervous again. He even fell over his own feet. But Jenny was quite used to that by now. And they walked hand in hand towards the door. Inside, the old woman was reading. She did not look up as Peter and Jenny crept in. "Good day, old woman," said Peter politely. "It is I, Peter, with my new wife." So you still want to be clever, do you? Well, first you must answer my 3 questions. Tell me, what is it that runs without feet? Now, Jenny knew the answer. A river, said Peter loudly. The old woman didn't look up, but snapped. And what is yellow and shines and is not gold? Again, Jenny whispered to Peter. The sun, said Peter. And what has first no legs, then 2, then 4? A tadpole, whispered Jenny. The old woman spun round. Peter and Jenny jumped as they saw her face for the first time. She was very, very old. Young man, said the old woman, you must be very clever to have taken such a wife. Be off with you. Be happy in your good fortune. You were no fool. Oh, thank you, said Peter, delighted. And Jenny gave him a big kiss as they left the cottage. It's true, thought Peter as they walked home. I must have been very clever all the time. For if I had been a fool, I never would have married Jenny.